We start our journey on the button holding a7 of diamonds. The action begins with undergun +1 raising to 2.2. Recognizing the potential in our hand, we decide to call, and the big blind also matches the bet. With 3 players involved and 6,600 in the middle, we go to the flop. The flop brings 8 ace 9 2 spades, the big blind checks, and the undergun +1 continue the action with a bet of 5,000. We choose to call this bet, and the big blind decides to fold, leaving us heads up against undergun +1. The turn card reveals the 9 of clubs, creating a paired board. The undergun +1 pushes forward with a bet of 10,000. In this situation, we opt to fold, acknowledging that we can easily be beaten by a higher kicker and the aggressive strength of our opponent's play. However, he reveals Jack 10 of spades for an open-ended straight draw and a flush draw. Even if he didn't make his hand yet, he had a ton of outs to take the lead on the river. It's not a great start though, but we have a long way to go and enough chips to maneuver. The next hand we are in the big blind with Queen 10 of diamonds. The action starts with a cutoff raising to 1.2. The button calls, the small blind folds, and we decide to call, creating a 3-way pot. The flop comes 3 Queen King, giving us mid-pair. However, there are 2 suited cards on the board, and it's coordinated flop with potential flush and straight draws. We choose to check and both the cutoff and the button also check. The turn card is a 4 of diamond, giving us a flush draw as well. We check once more, and this time the cutoff bets 3,000. The button falls, and we just make the call since there's a king on the flop. The river card is a 9 of clubs, which complete the flush draw. We check once more. The cutoff, after some consideration, decides to check back. We show our hand, and the cutoff's hand stays unknown as he mugs his cards. With the blinds rising to 300-600 with the big blind ante, we find ourselves in the undergun and decides to raising to 1.8. The small blind sees the opportunity to go all in for 13,000 and the big blind decides to fold. Facing an all in for 21 big blinds from the small blind, we decide to make the call, creating a significant pot of 27,800. We see that the small blind also holds king queen, so the chances of a chop are quite high. The flop brought some excitement as we picked up a flush draw, giving us the opportunity to hit a flush on a turn or river. However, no club showed up on the board, failed to improve our hand, resulting in a chop pot. And as James Hartigan and Joe Stapleton would say,
everyone loves a chop pot!
We are still on the same level with King 10 of spades in the mid position and a stake of 47,100. The action begins with undergun +1 limping into the pot, and we decide to limp as well along with the button. The small blind calls and the big blind checks, creating a modest pot of 3,600. The flop comes down as 9 King 6 3 clubs, giving us top pair. It's a relatively favorable flop for our hand. The small blind checks, the big blind checks, the undergun +1 checks, and we make a bet of 1,200. This is a good move to build the pot and protect our hand from potential draws. The button falls, but the small blind decides to raise it up to 3,200. Big blind and the undergun falls. We choose to call. The pot now holds 10,000 and it's heads up. The turn reveals a 5 of clubs, completing a 1-card flush on the board. The small blind checks and we decide to check as well, likely due to the threat of a flush. The river brings a deuce of spades and both of us check again. Small blind shows 9-3 of suit, indicating they have 2 pair. Unfortunately, we lose this hand. In this situation, it appears that the small blind's aggression on the flop paid off for them. In the 400-800 blind level, we pick up our first pocket pair in the small blind. It falls to us, creating a blind versus blind situation. We choose to simply call and keep the pot small. However, the big blind has different plans and raises to 2,000, which we decide to call. The flop brings 5-6-5 with 2 hearts. We check, believing that our hand is still superior. The big blind bets 2,500, a standard c-bet, possibly to try to steal the pot. We opt to call and proceed to the turn, which reveals the queen of diamonds. Once again we check and the big blind bet 3,500. We make the call, further increasing the pot size to 16,800. The river card is the ace of hearts. At this point, we decide to take the initiative and place a substantial bet of 15,300. There are several reasons behind this move. It is possible we made it look as we had stayed in with an ace high in our hand and got lucky on the river. Alternatively, we used the same play to give the impression that we believe the big blind was the one who got lucky on the river by hitting an ace, and by betting so big it's aimed at enticing a call, making the big blind believe we have a monster hand like 3 of a kind or a full house, and that he will make a call with his ace on the river. As a result, our plan works and the big blind makes the fold, so we won the pot of 8,800 improvement to our stack. This hence demonstrates effective pot control and a well-timed river bet, allowing us to take down the pot successfully. The friendly villain of the last hand goes all in pre-flop with ace queen of suit against pocket 8 and asked us if he can be in our vlog. The pleasure is ours. So let's sweat this hand with him. The flop reveals Jack 7-5, the turn is a 9 of diamonds, so he needs to hit an ace or a queen on the river. The river reveals the savior queen, so he survives and doubles up. So let's focus back on our hands. We have queen jack of hearts and the blinds are at 600, 1200. The action begins with a raise to 2.6 from the hijack. We decide to call, as do the players in the cutoff, small blind and the big blind. The flop reveals 6 king 3, creating a potentially dangerous board with 3 clubs. Each X around the flop and we move on to the turn. On the turn, after the 6 of diamond, the small blind and the big blind both check. We place a bet of 2,000 and try to steal the pot since there was no interest on the flop. The cutoff falls and the small blind falls. The big blind's action is still pending and the pot is 6,200 including our bet of 2,000, and at the end he lays down as well and we take the pot down. This is actually our last hand where we can actively participate and try to win something before our marathon of being caught that begins. For a span of about 5 hours without any exaggeration, we find ourselves in a card and spot that state. It's perhaps one of the most challenging tests of patience in our poker career. But okay, we have our discipline and our game plan on point, and in the next hand we are forced to do what we all have to do at some point. We got 10-9 offsuit in the cutoff with 26,000 and the blinds are at 1.5 and 3k with the big blind empty. After experiencing a dry spell without playable cards, the action unfolds as mid position opens for 6,500. We take the initiative and the opportunity to go all in since there's a lot of that money in the pot. Even if we run into ace king kind of a hand or even against ace with a lower kicker, we still have live cards to take the lead. The small blind makes the call, the big blind falls and the mid position makes a call as well, so we have a chance to triple up and additionally win the big blind and the ante. The flop reveals ace a6 with 2 spades, the small blind checks, the MP checks back. The turn reveals another ace, the ace of hearts, and now the small blind bets 10,000. The mid position player falls, so the small blind shows pocket 8, so we are still alive. Any 9 or 10 would give us the win. But unfortunately the queen of clubs seals the deal and sends us to the rails. So guys, as the sun sets over the Havana festival, we couldn't secure our spot in day 2 to keep the rhythm of salsa and the shuffle of cards combined. But don't you worry amigos, we are going to keep improving our play and try to get deeper the next time. So don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay updated on our poker journeys. Adios amigos and may the river be yours.